Hey guys, and welcome back. So if you haven't noticed from the title, today's video is going to be something a little bit different. So it's going to be a how-to. So if you're someone who follows episodelife.com, you will have known a little while back I done a series of blog posts on how-to. And the first one I did was how to get more reads and exposure on episode. So yeah, I thought why not do it in like video format for anyone who hasn't like read that blog post, or if you haven't got time to read it, I just thought why not just do it right here. I've got it up on my phone so I can like read through the points with you. So yes, let's get started. So yeah, I feel like that is people's main main questions in regards to like episode is how do you get exposure, how do you get more reads? And even though I don't write for episodes, I've never written anything before, I feel like this could be applied to pretty much any way that you want to get more exposure. So whether it's just, you want to become a YouTuber or like Instagram influencer, episode writer, it kind of boils down to the same thing, which is exposure. Because you could have written the most epic story in the history of the world, but if no one knows who you are and that you wrote this story, then they're not going to know it's there to read it. So pretty much it all comes down to exposure, which leads me on to how to get the exposure, which is going to be social media. I mean, not much of a secret, everyone is on social media, but I think it's knowing how to utilize it and how to make it work best for you. I told a story about Joe. So it's 2011 and Joe just finished writing City the Falling Sky, the first book. And at that point, he wasn't on episode. No one really knew who he was, but he wanted his story to get out there. So at this time, Twitter, I know now Twitter's kind of like an old thing, but at the time, Twitter had kind of just launched, and Joe knew at that time that in order for anyone to read his story, he was going to have to put himself out there. So because at the time that Twitter was fairly new and it was pretty much the biggest social media, it kind of overtaken Facebook, and at that time Instagram wasn't even around. I know, can we believe a time when there wasn't Instagram? So Joe set up his account, and this started Twitter duty, as Joe would call it. So basically every single night before bed, Joe would do his Twitter duty. So he would log on to Twitter, he would post something to Twitter, he was following, I can't even remember how many people he was following a day, but he wasn't just following anyone, he was specifically following people who were his key demographics. So for City of the Falling Sky, it was people who were interested in the types of books that were very, very similar to City of the Falling Sky. He was following other YA authors, so he was keeping it very, very related to the audience that he wanted to appeal to. So his Twitter slowly started growing, and obviously the more it started growing, they were seeing his post about City of the Falling Sky, and I believe I think this was anyone who followed him, he done an automated message was saying thanks for following me, I've written this book, City of the Falling Sky, here's a link to it, go and check it out. So immediately everyone who followed him knew that he wrote a book. I think over time he gained about 13,000 on Twitter, and he would comment on people's posts, he would DM them, he would retweet things, and he was looking at other people's posts to see what hashtags that they were using and using the same ones, seeing what the top trending hashtag was. And he would do this every single night, and I mean, I actually don't even know how many years he done this for. But basically that is how he was seen by episodes. They seen his stuff on Twitter and they thought, well, he seemed like the perfect candidate to write on episode. So if he hadn't done any of that, no one would have seen him. So that's our story in a nutshell. And I think that kind of just proves my point that, yeah, we all know that Joe is a fantastic author, amazing. But if he hadn't done any of that stuff on Twitter, he wouldn't have been seen, and he might not have been writing for episodes right now. So yeah, I think to try and break it down into smaller chunks, main thing, if you haven't already, get yourself a social media. Probably the biggest one right now would be Instagram. People still use Twitter, obviously, but I think Instagram is a lot more easy to use, and I think it's a nicer environment than what Twitter is, I think. Make sure you post consistently, so ideally be like at least once a day, but if not, like a few times a week. Just follow as many people as possible, but make sure to keep it like relevant, so to keep it to the audience that you want to attract. So there'd be no point following someone who is not interested in an episode but interested in just like cooking, because even if they follow you back, chances are they're not going to go and read your story. So make sure that you follow in all episode related people, people who just love episode, other episode authors, episode themselves. And with the people that you follow, make sure to comment on their posts, because then their followers will see your comment, which means if you're getting seen by their followers, then their followers might follow you. Don't be afraid to slide in people's DMs. Making connections and friends is probably one of the easiest ways to, well, not only to make friends with people and to like be able to share your experiences, but it's also getting you seen. If you get chatting to people on Instagram, most likely they will read your story, and if they like your story, then they'll be more likely to say to their friends or even to their followers like, hey, check out this really awesome story. Make sure to use your hashtags. So yes, search what other authors and what other like episode readers are hashtagging, search what the top trending hashtags are, basically anything which is going to get you seen. Engage and build up a relationship with your followers. It's good to try and build a nice like relationship with your followers, because no one wants to feel like they're just following a robot or someone who's like not interested in them. So I know this can be hard, especially when you start getting a lot of messages, or if you get like a lot of comments. Like, as much as you can, try and like at least like someone's comment, try and reply to as many comments as you can, try to reply to as many like messages as you can, just something so that it's keeping like a relationship. And yeah, the more you've got like a nice like following, a nice relationship with your followers, you're gonna get a nice like loyalty back. Like they'll want to read all your stuff, and they'll want to share your stuff and like recommend your stories to other people. So yeah, it's always nice to be nice. But don't be afraid to blow your own horn. I think especially in the UK, it seems like, oh, it's not the done thing to be like, oh, read my story, it's amazing. Like I think for us Brits is kind of a lot of like, oh, like read if you want, like, oh, so it's not that good. But if you've got that attitude, who's gonna want to read it? Whereas if you say, I've done this amazing story, it is gonna blow your mind, people are more likely gonna want to read it. If you don't have confidence in yourself and don't believe in yourself, then why should other people? That's what I say. Yeah, every time you release a chapter, tell people about it and say how amazing it is and why they should read it. For the last tip, is probably just basically be up for the challenge. This is not going to be an overnight thing. I don't think anyone really has just had a like snap of the fingers overnight. They're an instant success. They've got like thousands of followers and millions of reads. It just doesn't work like that. It is going to be a long hard slog. It's gonna be having to work on it like pretty much every day, replying back to messages, comments, liking, following. If you want it bad enough, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. It could take weeks, months, years, but if you keep at it and persevering, then you will get all the exposure and the reads that you want. So yeah, the main things to take away from this video is social media equals exposure, exposure equals reads. I will link the full blog post down below if you want to go and check that out and give that a read. And if you've got any other questions, then just leave them down below and either myself or Joe will get back to you. So guys, I hope that has been somewhat helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! I'm hoping no one's gonna notice, but I don't have a bra on, but hopefully no one can see. I've tried to like have something baggy on. I've tried to keep myself a little bit lower down this time.